Hey everyone, it's Chris at Service Autopilot. I want to talk today about a really cool feature in Service Autopilot that is not discussed very often. It's kind of honestly a little bit hidden in the system. It's a very small but very useful feature, and that's tracking non-billable time. Now, there are some system default items that you'll see when you're using the Service Autopilot app in terms of tracking non-billable time, and we'll see those here in a moment when we actually pull up the app screen. But what we've built into the system for you is some of the obvious stuff. You've got tracking break time, drive time between jobs, loading and unloading time, as well as driving to and from the office. Now those are things that are great to track and they can be really useful for you. But you might not know that you can actually create your own custom non-billable categories inside of Service Autopilot, so that you or your team members or whoever can actually track those things. And there's reports behind those where you can run a report for the week or the month or the year or however long to see how much time was spent doing some various non-billable task. So let's jump into the system here. I'm going to show you how to create those custom non-billable categories, and then we'll take a slight break and look at the mobile phone so that you can see from the perspective of the app how you would actually track that time. So let's jump in here. And where I'm going to go is underneath the scheduling settings. And we'll scroll down to the section that says non-billable items. We'll click that. And it takes us into this list. Now I've got a couple here that are in my inactive list that I'll activate here in a second, but let's just look as if we're going to build one of these from scratch. We'll open it up. Very simple. It's got a name. That's the title that you would see when you actually go to track that time. And then a description is just for internal purposes so that you can look at this list and know exactly what you meant when you entered that. So I'm going to not enter a new one from scratch. Instead, I'm going to activate a couple more. So I'll go to my inactive list and let me move these over to my active list. So here are a couple of examples that I've created, and these are great examples of what you could implement in your business. I've got gas station time and shop time. So the idea here is that when your teams or your crews are doing these things, the crew leader on the phone will simply just click a button that says, this is what we're doing. And when they finish it, they'll click a button that says, we're done doing this item. Now, I wouldn't recommend creating all of these random tasks for really small things that happen, but shop time and gas station time, for example, these are things that take quite a bit of time during the normal workday. And there are some really good results that you can get out of tracking that. Here's an example. Jonathan tells this story quite a bit about his lawn care company, CityTurf, that he began tracking his gas station time, and he saw that his teams were spending a really long time, honestly, at the gas station, and he couldn't quite figure it out. They shadowed the teams, and they realized, they're not goofing off or anything like that. It was just taking them a long time to get gas. So how could they cut down on that time? Well, what he discovered from capturing this data was that the teams were consistently going to fill up the gas tanks in the morning when the gas stations were at their most busy, the busiest time for them, essentially. And so they implemented a rule, and essentially the reason that the teams were having to fill up in the morning is because they were also getting ice to last them throughout the day. So they're getting gas, filling up the ice chest with ice to last them the day. So the solution that they came up with to cut down on this non-billable time was to send the crews at the end of the day, when there's less people filling up with gas, to get the trucks filled up. And the way they solved the issue with the ice was to just spend about $6,000, $7,000 on an ice machine for the shop so that the crews could fill up in the shop with ice and then at the end of the day fill up with gas. So these are just a couple of great examples of things that you can track to try to figure out how long you're actually spending on these. But it doesn't have to stop here. These are a couple of examples, like some pretty typical ones, honestly, that you might already be tracking in a different way. But it's not just limited to your crews or your field staff. You can also use this from the perspective of your office staff. Even the CEO of the company can use this. A great example would be if you've set yourself a resolution for the year to spend more time on marketing for your company. Or maybe it's something way less serious than that. Maybe it's you've dedicated that you're going to spend X amount of hours a week reading business books, reading entrepreneurship books, whatever, to increase your knowledge about your craft, about your business. Well, you can use this feature and the Service Autopilot app to keep track of how you're actually doing. And you can run reports at the end of each month to say, hey, did I actually spend enough time? Did I accomplish my goal of spending X amount of hours a week doing this task? Yes or no? This feature could help you do that as well. So it's not limited to what the guys or the gals in the field could do, but what really every team member that you have, that you want to kind of track what they're doing, and if they're spending time on these non-job tasks, this is a perfect way to handle it. So we're going to switch over to the mobile system, and I'm going to show you how to actually log this time once you have it entered. All right, so now we're looking at the Service Autopilot mobile app. Now again, I mentioned that you can use this feature from the perspective of your teams or your crews, or you can use it from your own perspective as the owner of the company or the marketing director or a salesperson or whatever. But we're logged in and we're on the main page that you first land on when you log into the app, the schedule page. So I have my face here, I'm logged in as myself, and what I'll do is click my portrait, and that sort of just generically clocks me in for the day. But if I click it again, I get all of these other time tracking options. And I mentioned before that there are some system options that we preload your account with, like break time and loading and unloading time. But if we see this section here that says Start Other, if I click that, that is where I'm going to see the new custom non-billable time categories that I've created. So here I see my gas station time and my shop time. To clock into one of these, it's as simple as selecting the radio button next to it and clicking Save. And now there is initials for the non-billable category that I'm clocked into next to my portrait. And then when I'm ready to clock out of it, I simply click the button again and stop the time. So it's as simple as that. And like I said, you can run reports under your scheduling report section. You'll see various non-billable and resource time utilization reports underneath those categories in your reports section. So take a look at those, and you can take the information that you gather from this time tracking to help yourself make smarter business decisions, maybe purchasing decisions or hiring decisions or firing decisions. But having the data is critical in order to make those decisions appropriately. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. Make sure to check out our blog. We're constantly updating that with content. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook or like us on Facebook, because we're putting great content like this through all of those channels to help you be better at Service Autopilot, but also hopefully to just give you good business, sound business advice to improve your business, to improve your life. I hope that this has been beneficial. Thanks for watching. Thanks for taking the time. Once again, my name's Chris. Have a great day, and we'll see you later.